There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that not every question deserves an answer, not every accusation deserves a defense, and not every person deserves access to their peace. Until that moment arrives, we spend years trying to explain ourselves. We explain our intentions. We explain our choices. We explain why we changed, why we left, why we stayed, and why we refused. We believe that if we can just find the perfect words, people will finally understand us. But they rarely do. Because understanding is not created by better explanations. It is created by a willing heart. And no amount of speaking can open the ears of someone who has already decided not to listen. The wisest people discover a truth that changes everything. Silence is not the absence of strength. Silence is strength that no longer seeks approval. Think about the mountain. It never argues with the wind. It never explains why it stands where it stands. Yet through every storm, every season, every passing year, it remains exactly where it belongs. Its power is not in making noise. Its power is in remaining unmoved. Human beings often confuse reaction with courage. They believe that standing up for yourself means answering every criticism, correcting every misunderstanding, and defending every decision. But wisdom asks a different question. What is the cost? How much of your peace have you sacrificed trying to convince people who were never searching for the truth? How many sleepless nights have been spent replaying conversations that changed nothing? How much energy has disappeared because you believed your value depended on someone else's opinion? The strongest person in the room is rarely the loudest. More often, it is the one who has mastered the ability to remain calm while chaos demands a reaction. They understand that every unnecessary explanation is an invitation to another argument. Every attempt to prove yourself to the wrong people is another chain tying your happiness to their approval. Freedom begins the moment you stop carrying the burden of being understood by everyone. This does not mean becoming cold. It does not mean becoming indifferent or arrogant. It means becoming clear. Clear about who you are. Clear about what matters. Clear enough to recognize that peace is too precious to exchange for pointless debates. There is extraordinary power in quietly walking away from what no longer serves your growth. There is dignity in allowing people to misunderstand you while you continue living according to your values. Time has a remarkable way of revealing what endless explanations never could. Remember this: your life is your message. Your discipline is your argument. Your character is your response. And your silence, when chosen with wisdom rather than fear, becomes a language that only the mature can truly understand. So before you feel the urge to explain yourself one more time, pause. Ask yourself whether your words will create clarity or simply create another cycle of resistance. Sometimes the greatest victory is not proving that you are right. Sometimes the greatest victory is protecting the peace that allows you to keep moving forward, because in the end, wise people do not walk away because they have nothing to say. They walk away because they finally understand that their peace is worth far more than having the last word. Silence is often misunderstood in a world that rewards constant expression. We are taught from an early age that we must defend ourselves, explain our choices, justify our decisions, and correct every misunderstanding. Whenever someone questions our character, our instinct is to respond immediately, believing that our words can reshape another person's opinion. Yet wisdom reveals a different path. The strongest response is not always another explanation. Sometimes the greatest strength is the ability to remain silent when silence protects your peace. Every explanation carries an expectation. Hidden beneath our words is the hope that someone will finally understand us, appreciate our intentions, or admit they were wrong. But wisdom teaches that understanding cannot be forced. A person who genuinely wants to know your heart will listen with openness, while someone determined to misunderstand, you will twist even your clearest explanation. No amount of perfect wording can change a mind that has already chosen its conclusion. This is why silence becomes a form of freedom. It releases you from the exhausting responsibility of controlling how others perceive you. The moment you stop trying to manage every opinion, you reclaim the energy that was once wasted seeking approval. Instead of living according to the expectations of others, you begin living according to your principles. Your confidence no longer depends on applause because it is rooted in self-awareness. Many people believe silence is surrender. They assume that walking away without defending yourself means accepting defeat. In reality, silence is often the highest expression of confidence. A person who knows their character does not need to advertise it. Just as the sun does not announce its arrival each morning, genuine integrity does not require endless explanation. It simply exists. Over time, truth has a way of revealing itself through consistent action, rather than repeated arguments. Imagine carrying a cup filled to the very edge with water. Every unnecessary argument is like another shake of your hand. The more you react, the more peace spills away. Eventually, you find yourself emotionally exhausted, not because the situation was difficult, but because you kept trying to convince people who were never interested in understanding you. Silence steadies the cup. It allows your mind to remain calm even when others attempt to disturb it. There is also great discipline in knowing the difference between communication and justification. Healthy communication builds understanding between people who respect each other. Justification, however, is often driven by fear, the fear of rejection, criticism, or being seen in the wrong light. Wisdom recognizes this difference. It speaks when communication can create clarity, but it remains silent when words would only fuel conflict. This does not mean ignoring responsibility. If you have made a mistake, honesty requires that you acknowledge it. If someone sincerely seeks clarification, kindness encourages you to explain. Silence is not an excuse to avoid accountability. Rather, it is the wisdom to recognize when your words will serve truth and when they will merely feed another cycle of misunderstanding. Consider the tallest tree in a forest. It does not argue with every passing storm. It bends when necessary, stands firm when required, and continues growing regardless of the weather. People may admire it, ignore it, or even attempt to damage it. Yet the tree never abandons its purpose to answer every challenge. Its strength is revealed through endurance, not conversation. In the same way, your life becomes your strongest testimony when your actions remain consistent, despite the opinions surrounding you. The desire to explain yourself often comes from the belief that your worth depends on being understood. Wisdom gently dissolves this illusion. Your value was never created by another person's approval, and it cannot be destroyed by another person's misunderstanding. When this truth settles deeply within you, silence no longer feels uncomfortable. It becomes a place of confidence, patience, and inner stability. You begin to understand that not every accusation deserves a response, not every opinion deserves your attention, and not every misunderstanding deserves your energy. The quieter your ego becomes, the louder your character begins to speak, allowing your life to become the explanation that words could never fully provide. Walking away is one of the most misunderstood actions a person can take. Many people see it as weakness, avoidance, or surrender. They believe that strength is measured by who argues the longest, who speaks the loudest, or who refuses to let go. Yet true strength is not found in endless confrontation. It is found in the wisdom to recognize when a situation no longer deserves your presence. Walking away is not an escape from difficulty. It is the conscious decision to protect your peace, your dignity, and your purpose. There is a powerful difference between running away because you are afraid and walking away because you are aware. Fear pushes a person to avoid daily challenges that could help them grow. Wisdom, however, guides a person away from battles that only drain their energy without adding value to their life. A wise person does not leave because they lack courage. They leave because they understand that courage is not measured by how long you stay in conflict, but by how faithfully you remain committed to what truly matters. Every argument demands something from you. It asks for your attention, your emotions, your thoughts, and often your peace of mind. The longer you remain trapped in unnecessary conflict, the more these valuable resources are consumed. You begin replaying conversations in your mind, imagining better responses, wishing you had said something different. Days pass, yet your thoughts remain chained to a moment that should have ended long ago. Walking away breaks those chains. It is an act of reclaiming your attention and directing it toward your own growth instead of someone else's negativity. The strongest people understand that life is too short to spend proving themselves to those who have already made up their minds. Some individuals are not searching for truth, they are searching for victory. They do not want understanding, they want control. No explanation satisfies them because their goal is not clarity but conflict. Continuing to engage with such people is like pouring clean water into a bucket full of holes. No matter how much you give, nothing remains. Wisdom recognizes this reality and chooses to step back before more energy is wasted. Walking away also requires tremendous emotional discipline. The ego always wants the last word. It wants recognition, validation, and the satisfaction of proving itself right. It whispers that silence will make you appear weak, and that leaving means losing. But inner strength speaks differently. It reminds you that peace is far more valuable than winning an argument. It teaches that every reaction should be intentional rather than impulsive. When you no longer feel the need to satisfy your ego, you begin making decisions that serve your future instead of your pride. Imagine a river flowing around a massive rock. The river does not stop to fight the obstacle. It does not waste its strength trying to destroy what stands in its path. Instead, it continues moving forward, adapting without losing its direction. Over time, the river reaches the ocean, while the rock remains exactly where it was. This is the quiet strength of walking away. It is not resistance that creates progress, but the willingness to keep moving towards something greater. There are moments in life when relationships, conversations, or environments become harmful to your well-being. Remaining in them simply to avoid appearing weak only creates deeper wounds. Walking away from constant disrespect, manipulation, or unnecessary drama is not a sign of defeat. It is an expression of self-respect. It tells the world that your peace is not available for endless negotiation. It shows that you value your mental and emotional health enough to protect it. This strength is not developed overnight. It grows through self-awareness and experience. Each disappointment teaches you that not every battle deserves your attention. Each unnecessary argument reminds you that peace is more rewarding than temporary satisfaction. Gradually, you become less interested in changing other people and more committed to improving yourself. Your focus shifts from controlling external circumstances to mastering your inner world. When you consistently choose peace over pride, your confidence becomes quieter but far more powerful. You no longer need to announce your worth because your actions reflect it naturally. You become someone who values purpose over drama, growth over revenge, and clarity over emotional chaos. People may misunderstand why you walked away, but their opinions no longer determine your decisions. You understand that every step away from unnecessary conflict is also a step closer to becoming the person you were always meant to be, guided not by impulse, but by unwavering inner strength. Protecting your peace is one of the highest forms of discipline because it requires making choices that are often invisible to everyone else. Most people think discipline is only about waking up early, exercising consistently, or working hard toward a goal. While these habits are valuable, there is another kind of discipline that shapes every part of your life: the discipline of guarding your inner world. A peaceful mind does not happen by accident. It is built through daily decisions, quiet boundaries, and the wisdom to choose what deserves your attention. Every morning, your mind is like a clear lake. The thoughts you entertain, the conversations you engage in, and the emotions you carry determine whether that lake remains calm or becomes disturbed. Many people allow the opinions of strangers, negative news, unnecessary arguments, and constant comparison to create endless waves within them. They wonder why they feel anxious and exhausted, yet they rarely examine what they have allowed to enter their minds. Wisdom begins with recognizing that not everything deserves a place in your thoughts. Your energy is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Unlike money, time, or possessions, once a moment of emotional energy has been wasted, it cannot be recovered. Every unnecessary conflict, every meaningless debate, and every attempt to gain approval from people who refuse to understand you slowly drains your inner strength. The wise understand that where attention goes, energy follows. If your attention is constantly pulled toward negativity, your life will eventually reflect that negativity. If your attention is directed toward growth, gratitude, and purpose, your life begins to move in that direction instead. Protecting your peace does not mean avoiding responsibility or pretending that problems do not exist. It means approaching life's challenges without allowing them to control your emotional state. Difficult situations are unavoidable, but suffering is often increased by how long we continue carrying them in our minds. A wise person solves what can be solved, accepts what cannot be changed, and refuses to let temporary difficulties become permanent residents within their heart. One of the greatest threats to inner peace is the desire to control everything. We want people to understand us, circumstances to unfold exactly as planned, and life to follow our expectations. When reality moves in a different direction, frustration appears. Wisdom teaches that peace grows not from controlling the outside world, but from mastering your response to it. The more you release the need to control every outcome, the lighter your heart becomes. Daily discipline also means choosing your environment carefully. Every person you spend time with influences your thoughts in some way. Some people inspire courage, honesty, and growth. Others constantly spread fear, gossip, resentment, and negativity. Over time, these influences shape your mindset more than you realize. Protecting your peace sometimes requires creating healthy distance from people who repeatedly disturb your emotional balance. This is not an act of judgment, but an act of wisdom. Just as a gardener removes weeds to help healthy plants grow, you must remove influences that prevent your own inner growth. There is also discipline in learning when to remain silent. Not every opinion requires your response. Not every insult deserves your attention. Many people become emotionally trapped because they react to everything they hear. They allow every criticism to enter their minds and every disagreement to become personal. A disciplined person pauses before reacting. They ask themselves whether responding will create peace or simply prolong conflict. More often than not, they discover that silence protects far more than words ever could. Imagine a lighthouse standing beside a stormy sea. Waves crash against the rocks, fierce winds roar through the darkness, and heavy rain falls without mercy. Yet the lighthouse remains steady because its foundation reaches far beneath the surface. In the same way, your peace cannot depend on calm circumstances. It must be rooted in principles that remain unshaken even when life becomes difficult. The storms may continue around you, but they no longer determine what happens within you. Protecting your peace also requires patience with yourself. There will be days when emotions rise, when disappointment feels overwhelming, and when old habits tempt you to react impulsively. Discipline is not perfection. It is the willingness to return again and again to the path of awareness. Every time you choose understanding over anger, gratitude over complaint, or silence over unnecessary conflict, you strengthen the foundation of your character. Over the years, these small daily choices create an extraordinary transformation. You become less affected by criticism, less distracted by drama, and less dependent on external validation. Your confidence grows because it is no longer built upon circumstances, but upon the quiet certainty that your peace is your responsibility. Others may continue chasing approval, arguing over opinions, and exhausting themselves in endless conflict. But you begin to understand that the greatest victory is not changing the world around you. It is preserving the calm, clear, and disciplined mind that allows you to walk through that world with unwavering purpose. One of the greatest lessons wisdom teaches is that not every battle is meant to be won. This truth may seem difficult to accept because from childhood we are encouraged to compete, to prove ourselves, and to never back down. We are told that winners fight until the end and that giving up is a sign of weakness. While perseverance is important, wisdom reveals that there is a profound difference between persistence and unnecessary struggle. The strongest people are not those who fight every battle they encounter. They are those who know which battles are worthy of their time, energy, and attention. Every conflict comes with a cost. Sometimes the cost is obvious, such as lost time or emotional exhaustion. Other times, the cost is invisible. It appears in the form of restless nights, broken relationships, constant anxiety, and a mind that cannot find peace. Many people become so focused on winning an argument that they fail to notice everything they are losing in the process. They sacrifice their happiness simply to hear the words, "You were right." Wisdom asks a different question. Is being right more valuable than remaining at peace? Not every disagreement is an invitation to engage. Some people argue because they seek understanding, while others argue because they enjoy conflict itself. A wise person quickly learns to recognize the difference. When someone is genuinely searching for truth, conversation can lead to growth for both sides. But when someone only wants to dominate, criticize, or provoke, continuing the discussion only feeds the cycle of negativity. In such moments, refusing to participate is not defeat. It is discernment. Imagine standing at the edge of a muddy swamp. If someone invites you to wrestle in the mud, both of you will become covered in dirt, regardless of who wins. From a distance, no one remembers the victor. They only see two people covered in mud. Many arguments are exactly like this. They pull you into emotional chaos where everyone leaves with less dignity than they began. Wisdom recognizes that the greatest victory is often choosing not to step into the swamp at all. There is also a hidden strength in accepting that you cannot change everyone. Many people carry the burden of trying to fix every misunderstanding, correct every false opinion, or convince every critic. This burden becomes heavier with time because it is impossible to control another person's thoughts. People see the world through their own experiences, beliefs, fears, and expectations. Even your most sincere words may be interpreted differently than you intended. Once you accept this reality, you stop exhausting yourself trying to reshape minds that are unwilling to change. The ego, however, resists this lesson. It constantly whispers that you must defend yourself, prove your intelligence, and make sure everyone recognizes your value. It fears being misunderstood because it believes identity depends on external approval. Wisdom gently quiets this voice. It reminds you that your worth does not increase when someone praises you, nor does it decrease when someone criticizes you. Your character remains the same whether others acknowledge it or not. History offers countless examples of individuals whose actions spoke louder than any argument. They were misunderstood, criticized, and doubted, yet they continued moving toward their purpose instead of stopping to defend themselves at every step. Time eventually revealed the truth more clearly than words ever could. This teaches an important lesson. Patience is often more powerful than persuasion. Truth has a way of revealing itself when given enough time. Choosing not to fight every battle also creates space for personal growth. The energy once spent on arguments can now be invested in learning, improving your skills, strengthening your relationships, and developing your inner character. Instead of becoming consumed by what others think, you become focused on who you are becoming. This shift transforms your life because your attention moves away from temporary conflicts and toward lasting purpose. Consider an eagle soaring high above the mountains. It does not waste its strength chasing every small bird that tries to provoke it. If it descended to answer every challenge, it would lose the very advantage that allows it to fly with such freedom. The eagle remains focused on the open sky, conserving its energy for what truly matters. In the same way, wise people refuse to descend into every argument or conflict. They understand that protecting their perspective is more valuable than satisfying their pride. As this understanding deepens, your life begins to change. You become slower to react and quicker to reflect. You no longer feel the need to respond to every criticism or defend every decision. Instead, you choose your battles with great care, knowing that every unnecessary conflict steals a piece of your peace. Gradually, you realize that the greatest victories are often invisible to the world because they happen within your own heart whenever you choose wisdom over impulse, calm over chaos, and purpose over the temporary satisfaction of winning an argument that was never worth fighting in the first place. Your actions will always speak louder than your words, because actions reveal the truth that words can only describe. Anyone can promise kindness, speak about discipline, or claim to possess wisdom, but only consistent behavior proves whether those qualities truly exist. In a world where people are surrounded by endless opinions, debates, and explanations, the most convincing message is not what someone says. It is how they choose to live every single day. Wise people understand this deeply, which is why they spend less time defending themselves and more time becoming the kind of person who needs no defense, Many people feel an irresistible urge to explain who they are. They want others to recognize their intentions, appreciate their sacrifices, and understand the reasons behind every decision. While this desire is natural, it often becomes a trap. The more you try to convince others through words alone, the more dependent you become on their acceptance. Wisdom teaches that your identity should never rest in someone else's opinion. It should be built upon the quiet confidence that comes from living according to your values, whether anyone notices or not. Think about a craftsman who spends years perfecting his work. He does not need to argue that he is skilled. The quality of his craftsmanship speaks before he ever says a word. In the same way, a person of integrity does not constantly announce their honesty, patience, or compassion. These qualities become visible through countless small actions performed consistently over time. People eventually trust what they repeatedly see far more than what they repeatedly hear. Words can inspire, encourage, and teach, but they can also be manipulated. A person may speak with confidence while hiding selfish motives. Another may make promises they never intend to keep. Because of this, wise people learn to observe actions more carefully than speeches. They understand that character is revealed not during moments of comfort, but during moments of challenge. Anyone can remain calm when life is easy. True strength appears when disappointment, criticism, or hardship arrives, and a person still chooses patience, honesty, and self-control. One reason actions carry so much power is because they require sacrifice. Speaking about discipline takes only a few moments. Living with discipline requires countless decisions made when no one is watching. Talking about forgiveness is simple. Practicing forgiveness after being hurt demands courage. Explaining the importance of humility is easy. Remaining humble after achieving success requires constant awareness. Every meaningful action asks something of you, and that sacrifice gives it credibility. Silence plays an important role in this process. When you stop trying to explain yourself, you create space for your life to become the explanation. Instead of arguing with critics, you continue improving. Instead of responding to every accusation, you remain committed to your principles. Instead of seeking recognition, you focus on becoming a better version of yourself. Over time, your consistency becomes impossible to ignore. Those who doubted you may eventually change their opinions, while others may not. Either way, your peace remains untouched because your purpose was never to impress them. Imagine a tree growing in the middle of a field. It never announces that it is alive. It never tries to persuade anyone that it will bear fruit. Season after season, it quietly grows deeper roots, stronger branches, and healthier leaves. Eventually, fruit appears naturally, and no explanation is necessary. The harvest becomes the evidence of years of unseen growth. Human character develops in much the same way. Every quiet act of discipline, every moment of patience, and every decision to choose integrity over convenience becomes part of the invisible roots that eventually produce visible results. This way of living also changes your relationships. People begin trusting you because they know your words and actions match. They recognize that you are dependable, not because you constantly promise loyalty, but because you consistently demonstrate it. Respect earned through action is far more lasting than admiration gained through impressive speeches. It cannot be taken away by rumors or criticism, because it has been built through experience rather than persuasion. There will always be people who misunderstand you. Some will judge you before knowing your story. Others will create opinions based on incomplete information. If you spend your life chasing every misunderstanding, you will never have enough time to fulfill your purpose. Wisdom reminds you that your responsibility is not to control every opinion, but to remain faithful to your principles. Every day gives you another opportunity to let your conduct reflect your values, your discipline reflect your priorities, and your kindness reflect your strength. As the years pass, you begin to understand that the loudest voices are rarely the most influential. Lasting influence belongs to those whose lives become examples of what they believe. Their honesty is visible in difficult situations, their patience shines during adversity, and their humility remains steady even in success. They no longer feel compelled to prove their worth through endless explanations, because they know that a life lived with integrity becomes a message that cannot be argued with, a testimony that grows stronger with time, and a legacy remembered not for what was spoken, but for what was faithfully lived each day.